Time to move on, but as usual, organising the vehicles and teams takes several hours.
So we wait. Tick, 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 tick. Lucky I'm a patient guy, mate, I'll tell you.
As usual, the Turkish are the first onto the road. Meanwhile, Viva Palestina's Team A has a new addition. It's one of several new Malaysian-funded vehicles that have joined the convoy as part of a multi-million-dollar and multi-charity aid contribution, which seeks to provide long-term investment in the Gaza Strip.
We are really feel terrified with what happened in the Gaza during the Gaza war. We have been financing all the poor people, the minorities, the Islamic minorities and the Islamic poor countries to educate their children to a certain standard, because we believe, this is the belief of also the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, Tun Mahathir Mohamad, that through armed struggle you cannot achieve independence. We also believe that through educating them to be a useful citizen to the people, then we can achieve justice in that country.
The convoy heads for the border, where it's met by the Jordanian authorities, who appear to offer a relatively cool reception. For the first time since getting underway from London, the vehicles are given a thorough examination and x-rayed, and then the waiting begins.
Sorry, is the advice to say no if they ask for our passports? The advice is to wait.
The Jordanian police are asking each vehicle to hand over passports as they leave the border compound. The convoy members at the front refused this unprecedented demand, by now wary of the authorities. The result is a standoff which blocks off the border crossing, trapping the convoy and dozens of local truck drivers inside.
It's a shame they didn't warn us it was going to happen. But like I say, Borhan is speaking Arabic with them, so he's going to come back with the exact details. Do not worry.
Eventually, the convoy's leadership secures assurances that the passports will be returned. And finally, everyone heads for the Jordanian capital, Amman. But it's not long before the convoy and the authorities are at loggerheads again.
We've been told that we've been refused entry into Amman, where we were expecting to stay in a sports centre. So the convoy has blocked all the lanes of the motorway. Everyone's got their sirens going and their lights. I think this is totally appropriate to what's going on.
Further ahead, the front of the convoy is parked up on the outskirts of Amman, with police refusing to allow it any further into the city. Eventually, the authorities capitulate and order the security forces to allow the convoy through to its planned stop in the capital. Convoy organisers are apologetic to Jordanian drivers, but despite the traffic chaos, many of the locals remain clearly supportive of the mission as it pulls into the bright lights of Amman. With the sun shining and the world's media watching, George Galloway, perhaps more aware than others of the potential problems ahead, makes a direct plea to the Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak to open the way for Viva Palestina.
On behalf of all the people around the world whose hearts are bleeding, whose eyes are weeping for Palestine, please open your gates for us and allow us to proceed through the gates of Rafah to besieged Palestine.
Some people thought that when the convoy set out, the obstacles that were put in its way were going to scare the people of the convoy. From here, we declare to the whole world we aren't afraid of anything.
And with that, they begin the journey to Aqaba on the southern tip of Jordan, from where they'll be within hours of their final destination. It's a 5-hour drive across the desert, and this time, rather than obstructing the convoy, the police are on the same side and doing everything possible to facilitate the journey. Viva Palestina arrives in Aqaba on Christmas Eve, with mounting excitement and a little apprehension. Previous dealings with the Egyptian authorities have not been easy, and some of the drivers know this only too well. A keel was sent home by the Egyptian police when the first Viva Palestina convoy crossed over from Libya in March of 2009.
There wasn't a reason given. It was just that, I think they initially said it was reason national security, but that we found out about 4 or 5 days later. They didn't give a reason at the border, they just said that we couldn't come in, and that was it.
Further adding to their fears, the vehicles are being held in a Port Authority compound, several miles outside the city and fenced in by the police. The convoy is due to be loaded onto a ferry and cross over to the Sinai in the morning. But there's a problem with the ferry company. It won't allow the vehicles on board until the Egyptian authorities state in writing that they will allow Viva Palestina to land. Everyone waits while negotiations between the convoy leadership, the ferry company and the Egyptian authorities carry on into the early hours of the morning. And then some extremely disappointing news. The convoy is going nowhere.
We had a very tense meeting with the Egyptian consulate. He confirmed that Egypt's present position is that they will not allow us to sail.
There are many ways to frustrate entry into Egypt, by Egypt. One is physical, the other is psychological and emotional. Everything up to now has been preparation for this moment and the days to come. Refocus yourselves, re-establish your team structure, and together we can exert the sufficient momentum to see us over the Red Sea, through the Sinai, to Rafah, and inshallah into Gaza.
For some, the setbacks come at a particularly sensitive time. For Christians on the convoy, Christmas Day would normally be spent at home with their families, but they set off on the journey fully aware of what it could entail, and so they find solace in each other and in the local church in Aqaba, where the priest offers his support to the mission.
And you're welcome. Welcome in our church, St. Nicholas Church in Aqaba anytime. Thank you. Maybe you will do it next time. You are welcome. Welcome home.
Well, everybody's at home today celebrating their Christmas, giving out the gifts and presents and having a wonderful time. You know, over 500 people have joined this convoy to give up their time with their families and friends. I know I wouldn't want to be anywhere else at this particular time than here on this convoy with my fellow friends and brothers and sisters, because we come from all different nationalities, all different understandings and religions. This is not about religion. This is not about Jew and Arab. This is about humanitarian aid getting into people that need it.
Even Santa Claus is in attendance.
This will change our lives. That is no way it's changed my life. And together, someday we will crack the rock that is Gaza, and they will be liberated, and they will be free, and they will get to enjoy the same dignity and human rights that we take for granted sometimes.
There's been no news from Cairo in response to the pleas of the convoy leadership to be allowed into the Sinai from Jordan. It's the 27th of December, the one-year anniversary of the beginning of Israel's 22-day bombing of the Gaza Strip. The convoy should have been entering Gaza with its much-needed aid today. Instead, it remains stuck in Aqaba.
It's very frustrating being stuck here. I'd rather be driving and driving and driving, although it's tiring. It's more tiring just sitting and waiting and not knowing what's going to happen.
Some in the convoy, frustrated with the obstacles in their path, want to take more radical action in response.
We should have really just driven straight to the port and blocked the port, and so other vehicles coming up behind wanting to get onto the ferries would not have been able to get on unless we got on. I think we've kind of been hijacked a bit.
But for now, with nowhere to go, the convoy leadership doesn't want to anger the Jordanian authorities, who, for the moment, are cooperating. Instead, the drivers take to the streets in a peaceful protest, in memory of those who were killed in the Israeli bombing.
Now they're trying to divide us. They want the Europeans and the Turkish to take different routes. But we Muslims will never break our word. We came together and we'll go together. We will never be divided. If we turn back, it'll be a very shameful example for our children. Tomorrow we'll not be able to look them in the face if we turn back today.
For the US contingent on the convoy, Egypt's obstacles add to an already bitter experience. Their vehicles, which were prevented from going through on the second Viva Palestina convoy, were supposed to join the current mission. But bureaucratic hurdles have meant they remain impounded in an Egyptian seaport.
The Egyptian government, not the Egyptian people, because the Egyptian government is not allowing us because they're a puppet for the American and the Israeli regime. We need to be there. We should have been on the border of Rafah and entering Gaza today to be with the people of Gaza, to tell them that we came halfway across the world to be with you on the anniversary of a Holocaust, of a second Holocaust. And that's what we try to do, but instead we're here in Aqaba standing in front of the consulate asking God that He open the borders for us and help us get through Gaza so we can be there with our brothers in solidarity with our brothers in Gaza.
But morale rises once again as the convoyers receive support and charity from the people of Aqaba. Many local Jordanians are originally Palestinian and immediately identify with the cause. In one of many examples of generosity, this local hotel owner has emptied out all of his rooms and offered the entire building free of charge to the convoy volunteers, many of whom have previously been sleeping on the floor of the local mosque. To make it a family affair, his wife has been cooking meals at home for their new guests.
The convoy is a wonderful idea that will have a huge impact on improving the situation in Gaza. I will be here for every single convoy in the future to do whatever I can do to help.
But up in the mountains in the Port Authority compound, there's a problem. The delays, coupled with the desert heat, are having an adverse effect on the medical contents of some vehicles.
We need to get this through to Egypt, so be able to take it to Gaza, and people in need. They're waiting for this medicine, and we need to take it there as soon as possible. With this heat, they are definitely going to go bad. Antibiotics. What I picked up from Turkey. It says here that it needs to be 25 degrees centigrade under 25 centigrade. So this is a lot warmer than 25. I haven't brought these medicine here to be just sit here to go bad. The people are waiting there for this medicine.
Hoping to further highlight the desperate situation with the aid slowly being destroyed, some of the drivers volunteer to go on hunger strike.
I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I'm thinking of the children there, and I'm thinking what it would be like to be a grandmother in Gaza and see your children going to bed hungry and malnourished every day, day in, day out because of this cruel blockade.
Meanwhile, some raise the Palestinian flag in the mountains overlooking the city, while others take their protest to the sea, just miles from the Egyptian border and in sight of the Israeli coast. But their effort is stopped short by Jordanian police, in a stark reminder of how Israeli sensitivities come first. In the next episode, the convoy backtracks to Syria to meet Egyptian demands, but it's not enough to satisfy the Egyptian authorities, and a tense situation explodes with bloody consequences for both the convoy volunteers and their Palestinian supporters.